Hi everyone. My phone was doing some goofy stuff. Happy Sunday. Thanks for joining me on kind of an odd day this week. Today we're going to talk about shoe shelves, which I know are really dear to a lot of people. And if you don't have room for shoe shelves, I feel your pain. My house, as you know, has very little closet space, so we have a shoe shelf in our garage actually. We don't have really much of an entryway either, so but without that shoe shelf in place, I can't even tell you the difference it makes. We got our garage floor replaced a couple weeks ago, actually a month or so ago now, but we had to take everything out of those shoe shelves, and I felt like I had shoes everywhere. We had bins in the shed, we had shoes in every room of the house, and normally all of those shoes are stored in that one shoe shelf. So this can really make a big difference in how you function as a family. And if you are a family, you know, in my experience, I very rarely have gone into a house that doesn't have a shoe problem somewhere. So, you know, I'm sure if you close your eyes right now and kind of walk yourself through your house, if you don't have a shoe solution already, you'll come up with lots of spaces that you are having challenges with what to do with all the shoes. So, of course, there are many ways to store shoes, but I'm a firm believer in the way that I'm going to show you today, and that is really to use the vertical height to get your shoes in one area and be able to store as many as you can in the smallest amount of space. You can always put shoes on the floor, under your clothes. You could design a custom closet with, you know, hanging above and shoes below, and I have done that and it looks great. But if we're really talking about the economy of trying to get as many shoes, you know, in a space as you can, not waste space. And also, I'm a big proponent of economy of, what would you want to call it, effort. And so to me, to be able to go to one place to see where all of your shoes are, number one, you can see them all. You're not running back and forth to different places to find different shoes. It's better for the shoes because they're laying out, you know, they're hopefully they're on a shelf, they're laying out flat, they're not getting trampled by other shoes, and you can see what you have, and so it makes, you know, getting ready a lot faster and neater, cleaner, you name it. The list could go on, but you get the idea. I'm really passionate about having a shoe shelf in a designated area. So we'll get started, and if you have any questions, post them in the comments. I'll try to be mindful of watching those. But let's get moving. Okay, there we go. Let's get, oh, there's my little kiddos. Okay, so here is that. So, and now let me make sure that Facebook is doing all the things. I'll go back here. And then go back there. Okay, so it looks like we are live. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is you know, how you do this, now that we've already talked about what we're going to do and why you should do it, what's at stake here. The first thing, if you remember back to your closet inventory worksheet, and if you haven't already done this, I'll say it again like I say it in every video. Go back and watch the, you know, how to inventory your closet. I think that was one of the very first, you know, how-to videos that I did. But it walks you through, and this is the worksheet part of that. You can find that in those videos, or I can post it again in the comments too. But this is the worksheet. The part that we're focusing on today is the count your shoes part. And when you counted your shoes, you counted them into 3 different types. You can get a little bit more specific, but this is, you know, in general, what you need. I'm going to give you some examples when we go to the next part, but in general, tall is either a booty style you know, that's something like this. Let me see if you guys can see that. Yeah, so something like this. But really, when I'm talking tall, I'm talking about, you know, a tall boot. And they are generally about 18 inches tall. There's some that are 15 or whatever, but long boots are generally about 18 inches. So that's what the number of pieces we're putting in that tall. Then medium would actually be more like this booty. So a booty like this or a platform heel would also generally fall into this category. Work boots generally are in this category as well. Okay, so that's your medium. And then low, of course, you know, all the way from flip-flops to generally like a tennis shoe. I don't wear a lot of low shoes, so I apologize for showing you my kind of sort of beat up tennis shoes. But this is what you would be looking at for a low shoe or a flip-flop or, you know, lots of, you know, low loafer type style shoes. Okay, so once you have those three, that's kind of funny. I brought these tennis shoes in from outside. I think they may have been worn in the yard. Anyway, once you've got these numbers down, then you kind of know how many pairs of shoes we're going to try to find storage for. So in this case, you know, I've just kind of pretended it's one person, 3 pair of tall boots, and probably a woman or somebody that likes shoes has a decent amount, 20 pairs of medium, and that includes heels, and then 10 low. You know, and maybe yours are reversed. Maybe you don't wear any heels. This is going to come into play because the next thing that we're going to do, so our next step, the first step is to count. The second step is going to be to measure on average. And again, you guys, keep this simple. Don't go nuts and measure, don't go nuts and measure every pair of shoes that you've got. Let's get this back to where we need to be. So don't go nuts and measure every pair of shoes that you've got. You don't need to do that. Just kind of sort of pick the average. Your talls are probably going to be 18 inches tall. Your mediums, and this is what I want to show you. So this is what you do. This is how you measure this. So I'm going to put this down this way. Let's put it this way. Okay, and pretend this is the floor. And you're going to measure from the bottom to the top. So this shoe, if it's sitting on a shelf, is going to take, you know, a very, very minimum of 7.5 inches. So I would figure 8 inches tall. And, you know, a lot of your platform shoes are going to have, you know, 3-4 inches of heel, and then not a lot up here, but some. And so they're going to end up in that 8-inch range as well. Here's another example. If you don't wear super, super high heels, let's do it this way. I think you guys can see this the best. Let's go like that. There we go. Okay, so if you don't wear a super high heel, you start at the bottom again and go to the top of the shoe. And I hope you guys can see that. This is about 5 3/4 of an inch, 6 inches. So this shoe needs a shelf that has 6 inches of space. Okay, so we've got 1 6 and 1 8. You can break these down, you know, a little bit if you've got a lot of lower heels and just a few booties, you know, something like this, or just a slightly higher booty that might be 10 inches. That's okay too, to kind of separate that out. All right, and then the last one that we're going to measure is the tennis shoe or the flat shoe. And I want to get this way again. And so generally, you know, these take the least amount of space, of course. So this one's about 4.5 inches. So actually, you know, like a 5 inches of space on a shelf is going to be enough to store a tennis shoe or a flat shoe. And actually, you know, for flip-flops and things like that, you don't even need that much. You can stack them. But for most shoes, 5 inches is going to be about the minimum. Okay, so we've got For our mediums, let's just say we have some, 6-inch and some 8-inch, and then our lows are 5-inch. Okay, and these numbers that I'm giving you here, these are going to be pretty common numbers. I would be surprised if you have, something that's a lot different. Like I said, maybe some booties that are 10 inches, but your low heels or your low shoes are generally going to be in the 5 range, mid heels 6 or 7, and booties in 8. Okay, so then what we do after that is we kind of break these down. So if we have, let's just say we had 3 pair of boots, 18 inches tall, skipped a step. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do, sorry, we forgot to measure something. And this is just going to be real quick because we're only going to pick one pair, like your average type of pair. We're going to lay them side by side like this. And we're going to measure the width. So from one side to the other, and these are about 7.5 inches. So I'm just going to call it 8 inches, which is a pretty typical width for most women's boots. Now, if you're doing, custom closets, or you're going to hire somebody to do this professionally, then you can really get specific. If you are going to do this in a DIY, they're going to dictate what that shelf width is going to be. And you may be stuck with something that's a good module for your shoes and something that's maybe not ideal, but it's going to be close. So we're just going to say that my shoes are 8 inches wide. The tennis shoes might have been slightly wider. And if I do have small feet. So if you have, a larger size shoe and you wear a chunkier style shoe, then you may go over that 8 inches. But even men's shoes are generally under 10. So you can see there's not, even, a large men's shoe is generally, if you put 2 together, you're not going to go over 10 inches. And more often than not, you're in the 9 range. So you might go a little over 8 if you wear a larger size shoe, or if you're a guy. I guess I shouldn't assume everyone's a woman that's watching. And so just keep that in mind. Okay, then we're going to figure out what we need as far as space. So we've got 3 at 18 inches. So if all we had was a tall boot, we would just need a 24-inch shelf, 24 inches wide by 18 inches high. That's all we would need. But we're adding on 20 more pair, and they are between 6 and 8 inches. So let's just pick an average and say that we need 7 inches. Okay, so we need 7 inches for that. We've got 20 pairs. If we were going to use a 24-inch wide, and I'll just tell you, 24 inches of width for a shoe shelf is a common, or 24 inches wide for a shelf in general is a common size. So, especially if you're DIYing this, 24-inch or 30-inch is going to be probably the 2 sizes that you can find. Maybe an 18-inch wide, but that generally is not a great width for shoes unless you have larger feet. But let's just say that we're going to use this 24 inches our width for our shoe shelves. Okay, so if we have 24 inches wide, our shelf is 24 inches wide, and our shoes are 8 inches each, we can fit 3 pairs per shelf. Okay, so we've got 3 pairs per shelf. We've got 20 pair of mid-height shoes. So 20 divided by 3 is, 6.5. So we would need approximately 7 shelves. And I'm going to erase this and put that was 1 shelf there. This is 1 shelf. Okay, and then we had 10 pairs of low at 5 inch. And so 10 divided by 3 is a little over 3. So we're going to need 4 shelves. So we probably could get by with 1 less shelf because, we were only 1 over on this one, and we were over a little bit on this one. But let's just, we're rounding up so that we can go shopping and get some more shoes. Which, once you see them all laid out, you'll no doubt be getting rid of a whole bunch of them, so you'll have to go out and buy some new ones. So right now, as we've figured it, we need, 12 shelves. Okay. So here we had 33 pair of shoes. And here we've got 12 shelves. Each shelf will hold 3 pair of shoes. So 12 times 3 is 36. So our shoe shelves we're designing are going to be able to store 36 pair of shoes. Okay, so when we're doing this closet math, when we're doing this math for these shoe shelves, I'm always going to talk in terms of, a perfect pair of shoes laying or sitting out in a perfect configuration like this. Let me see if you guys can see that. Okay, so like this. If you get your shoe shelves in and you want to get creative and you want to nest them like this, you'll get more on the shelf. If you have flip-flops and you want to stack them, you'll get more on the shelf. So, but I'm always referring to setting them out, like this with the next pair perfectly next to them like this so that they're not scrunched. Okay? So this is what we're talking about. And I will admit I live in an ideal world. I know that's not the case for everybody. If you've got a lot of shoes or if you don't have a ton of closet space, you might have some other things. But if we're going to design, we're going to design what we want, right? So we're going to design it to be perfect. Okay, so let's go back and finally start talking about our design. So this part gets real simple. So if we're just talking about the module that is for shoes and it's 24 inches wide, let's say that, it's a typical 8-inch closet. I'm just going to draw a wall here. So this is our elevation view, remember. So this is as if we're standing, looking at the wall. So we have a nice, beautiful blank wall in our closet, and we're going to put a shoe shelf on it. And the ceiling is 96 inches, so just a typical 8-foot ceiling. And so we're going to do just a standard system that goes up 84 inches. And we're going to do 24 inches of width. So there is our shoe shelf. And if you got lost on that, what I just drew, go back and watch how to draw your closet, and you'll see, that what I'm talking about here. We're using graph paper. Each square is 6 inches, and I just drew a system that's 84 inches tall, 24 inches wide. Okay, and then now we're going to place our shelves. So depending on how you want to set this up, most of the time I leave 18 inches at the bottom so that, before the first shelf, so that the 3 pair of tall boots, which seems to be a really common number that people have, 3 pair of tall boots, or they've got, 15 pairs. But, your 3 pair of tall boots would be at the bottom. Then depending on which you wear more often, your flat shoes or your heels, you may want to space, let's just say you're going to put your flat shoes at the bottom. We need 5 inches between each one. So we're just going to start drawing these in at 5 inches apart. And I do understand that on this paper they look very, very close together. But, here, if I raise it up. So 5, 10, 15, and we said we need 4 shelves to hold those shoes. So 1, 2, 3, I need 1 more. So 20 inches right there. Okay. Then we're going to start spacing them at 7 or 8 inches, depending on your thing. And I'm just going to do 7 as an average. Depending on your shoes, some will get less and some will get more. So we're at 27, 34, 42, 49. Let's see here. And depending on what happens at the top, we may or may not have enough. Okay, so we said we need 7 shelves for that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we may be able to squeeze another one in here. And I probably didn't do this perfect either, because let's start at the top and go down. 7. That's 5, 6, 7. Oops. Okay, so in real life, you're going to be able to adjust these shelves exactly how you need them. Okay. So, but what did we end up with? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and we wanted 12. So we actually got exactly what we needed. We got 33 pairs on here. Oops. Because we got 11 times 3, so 3 pair on each one of these. Okay. So we have enough to fit our shoes, but you can see, I think, in real life, you'd probably be able to adjust this and actually get another shelf on there. Or, that one shoe shelf is not going to be enough. Maybe you want to look at going 32 inches wide. If I was designing this for somebody, I would have pushed it and I would have made the width 32 to get another 12 pairs in there. Because then I would have known that, the person would have had ample shopping space. Okay, so I did it this way because I was trying to stay within a standard module, but really in closet design, true closet design, there is no standard. But we fit 33 pairs on these shelves. Okay. I hope that was clear. I don't see any questions at the moment. Everybody's probably busy doing family things, which is as it should be. So if you end up watching this later, please let me know if you have any questions about this. Again, I really, the key thing with this is that you use the height. You know, we're so used to looking at shoes down here, but if we would take this and we would put these shoes down here, they would seem like they expanded and they're filling up a whole entire room. Whereas if you go up high, you can get a lot of shoes in one small space and really have economies of a lot of different things. Save you time, save you money, take better care of your shoes, and look awesome too. The shoe shelves that I was talking about on this video, and this is just an aside, are flat shoe shelves. In my profession, when I'm out designing, I do design a lot of flat shoe shelves, much more than slanted. Again, if we were talking about a dressing room or a very large closet with ample space, slanted shoe shelves are very, very nice. But the calculations are different. They do take up more space, and they're not as adjustable. The ideal with this type of a system is that over time, as styles change, you can just adjust the shelves to fit what you need as time changes. Okay, like I said, if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, have a wonderful Sunday. Thank you so much for joining me again, and I will post the inventory sheet in the comments for anybody that may have missed it from the previous. Okay, thank you so much, you guys. Have a great day.